People often ask why Jungian depth therapy or analysis actually looks like in real life. Today, I'm going to share a little about my own journey with analysis and my training at the Institute. It's not a formula or a technique, but it's an unfolding relationship with your own dreams, with synchronicity and the unconscious. I also want to preface this section with saying that I've often felt like the universe was slamming doors in my face. I've gotten to where I'm faster to surrender to the hint and allow myself to follow where the psychic energy is available to me, where there's life force, where there's potential for growth, so that I can spend less time stuck and in my own way. And in the long run, that means less suffering.
Welcome to Chiron Art Therapy. I'm Maggie Colwell, an art therapist and Jungian. Here we explore archetypal images, personal symbolism in art and dreams, and what your psyche is trying to tell you. If you're ready to dive into your inner world, you're in the right place. Subscribe, and let's begin. I was just really, really upset and stayed upset for a couple weeks. And I finally said, you know what? Me just gnashing my teeth and ripping my hair out is not working. I wonder if I can ask for a dream. So I basically spent my whole evening praying for a dream. I said, I need direction. I need to figure out what's going. I did get a dream that said, you need to go in a different direction. You're going to be healed. But, where you're going, you have to walk away from, even though you're injured. Okay. So I did that. Year and a half later, I'm trying to apply to institutes in North America. And I had applied to 4 of them and gotten rejections. The 4th one, Philadelphia had tentatively said yes. I'd paid my tuition. I'd bought my books. I was ready to get started. I said, are you sure that based on your requirements? Because at the time, Ohio did not have an art therapy license. So I was practicing unlicensed, which was legal because it was unregulated in Ohio. I said, can you please just make sure? Now, you know what? You should call the president of the accreditation body for North America and have a conversation with him. So I did. He said, Jungian analysis is not art therapy. You need to get another master's degree first. There's no way. I am not doing that. That is going backwards. So that night I had a dream. And I am getting ready to run an art therapy group for some contract that I had. On my way there, I stopped at a gas station at a convenience store to try to buy some art supplies. And I couldn't find what I needed. And in the dream, I said to myself, why did I think I could get what I needed here? I woke up from that dream and I had no more anxiety about all the rejections I had gotten from the Assisi Institute, from all the North American institutes. I woke up and thought to myself, I'm going to Zurich. The decision's been made. And that was that. I had to trust it. But I wasn't worried about it anymore either. And that was the piece of the dream that was really wonderful, because then I wasn't, is it this? Is it that? It's resolved. Let's go do it. I don't know how I'm going to afford that, but I'm going to figure it out. I had heard an analyst say the same thing at the Assisi Institute years before that when she was thinking about doing analytical training, somebody had told her, if you're called, go do it. The money will figure itself out. Okay. I do think that's true. If you're in alignment with where psyche wants you to go, and you're willing to listen when the doors slam in your face because it's not the right direction, you do figure out how to get yourself on the path you're supposed to be on. I look younger now than I did 16 years ago. And I think that's because I'm in alignment with the career with the creative work I'm supposed to be aligned with. And even deciding to take a pause on the tune-ins for a little while are based on some dreams where my dreams are saying, go inside, find what's written underneath, spend time with it, see what's original, go back to the source, rejuvenate, do the inner work. I have to do that, and the rest will work itself out. So that's the direction I'm going in. Jung also said that when he was talking about psychoanalysts, he said, read all the books, learn all the theories, learn all the techniques. But when it comes to sitting in a room with another person, just be a person. I think that's really important. Something that gets missed in general psychotherapy, where it's, let's stick with the program. Let's stick with the workbook says fill this out, and these are the fill in the blanks and stuff that, but we're too unique for that. He came to this idea from one of his patients at the Broholsley Hospital, who he just had this intuitive thought that what he needed to do for this patient was sing them a lullaby. So he spent hours singing to this patient. And then this patient with schizophrenia got better. And the supervising physician was mad at him. He says, that's not procedure. Why are you singing to someone? He said, that's what they needed. They got better. So it's the idea that for every single person, you have to completely reinvent the therapy for that person according to their needs, their situation, their proclivities, their unique creativity. That a lot of the healing comes from how you are sitting together. That space of sitting together and affecting one another is what changes things. So part of what I'm doing is making sure that I'm doing my work and that I'm being true to what my work is calling for me, for my relationship with my creativity as an artist, so that I can show up as too. Every time I go to Zurich, something else happens that I couldn't have planned, that doesn't make sense, that rocks my world. My last trip over there, I had done all of my exams. They're the intermediate exams for the program. The first exam was at home online. That morning, I'd had a dream where I was sitting in this old house and my mom and I were trying to get the Wi-Fi to work so that I could go take this exam. And she said, I got to go. I got to get ready to go sing with the choir. I said, okay, Mom, no problem. Because that was her favorite thing in the whole world, was singing in the choir. Beautiful voice that I don't have any recordings of anymore. I said, Mom, I got this. She's going to do great. It'll be fine. Thanks. I did pass my first exam. Thank goodness. Went to Zurich. Passed my other exams. Some of them were very hard, but I got through them. That was the important thing. After I'd finished all my exams, I went to Einsiedeln Abbey, where one of the Black Madonnas is. Incredible cathedral. Art everywhere, reliquaries everywhere. The crypt had this amazing energy to it. The monks that live there are still breeding horses. There's a whole stables there. It's just, this whole little town is amazing. I was sitting there with the Black Madonna and just felt this energy of acceptance, understanding, lack of judgment. And I've always felt that most Madonnas feel very feminine and heavenly and motherly in a way I didn't connect to. But this Black Madonna looked at me with me recovering from a hysterectomy and a life of endometriosis. And she's going, I understand, and I'm here for you too. Okay, that's cool. We were there for Vespers. So the monks started singing at the altar and had the incense. And then a whole bunch of people came and brought banners and the canopies and the crucifix down to the front of the church where the Madonna shrine was. In the afternoon sun, the sun started shining through the stained glass onto where the Madonna was. It's just everything is covered in golden light, and she's surrounded by gold leaf. They had a different incense for the Madonna of rose incense, which was surprising. And then the sopranos started singing. And I could not believe it. It was my mother had come and said, "See, I told you I was getting ready to sing with the choir." And I can't talk about this without crying because it was over and over again. I keep saying, I wish I could talk to her about what I'm doing and studying fairy tales and going places she's never seen before and how much she would get what I was doing. It was that dream was so perfectly timed. This is what synchronicity means, is when there is something that based on timing is so connected to an inner meaning and an outside occurrence that it rocks your world. I felt my mother had come to say, "I'm here to support you through your very stressful exams. You're going to be fine. I see what you're doing. I'm proud of you. And I'm going to go visit you in that church in the choir." So when people ask me, "What are you studying?" I'm studying theory, Freudian and Jungian theory. I'm getting a lot of supervision about depth psychotherapy. My supervisors are interested in my art therapy, of how my own art affects me. Everybody I've talked to over there is, "Oh, cool, you're an art therapist," because I'm getting what I need. But it's those moments that are the meaningful ones. I don't know how to explain. The more weight you give your dreams and moments of synchronicity, the more often they happen. What did it say in the quote that I read earlier about the disorders, the brains of politicians and journalists who unwittingly let loose psychic epidemics on the world? In a world that has gone psychotic, that has completely lost its soul and lost its connection to reason, to each other, the violence, the world is sick right now, very sick. But to also know that underlying it is this heartbeat of connection and beauty and meaning, and that redemption is possible for every single one of us, that's why the work is worth it. How can a world exist that has just so much meaning, that there's so much beauty, that we can connect to each other through art? Nothing connects us more than music, food, music, that art has a place that we can hold all of the pain and all of the suffering and still find beauty and meaning. I can't remember the exact quote, but Jung said something about the meaning of human existence is to hold a candle in the darkness. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being. If we're looking at that light on a symbolic level, it's about consciousness. Thought is really about looking at the big picture, making sense of things, saying, what does this mean in context? Can I find the greater pattern and make sense of things? I think those moments of connection where that are truly heartfelt with each other, that are vulnerable, Yeah, I can put it in the quote. Those moments of connection create that light and create that meaning. So I get asked a lot, how does analysis work? What would that look? How do you plan that out? We don't plan it out because it's a surrender to the unconscious to allow that guidance from within to show us what direction to go in. It's a surrender of the ego that wants things orderly and clean and predictable and to maintain the status quo so that we can break that shell open and grow bigger. Ego is a complex of how we organize our consciousness. So anything that isn't consciousness would be unconscious. But that's a lot bigger than we think it is. Jung also said that the self is both the nucleus, the circumference of the total being of the unconscious, with the ego included somewhere in that. I think of the ego like an egg, like the yolk of an egg, where it's not necessarily the center, it's just in there. We think about our ego as the center. It's not nearly as big as we think it is. It's just our point of reference. I guess you would say that is the self organizing principle in the unconscious that's trying to allow things to unfold according to its natural order. Might be what you're looking for there. It's not a binary though. That's the problem with the ego is the ego wants to think in black and white and binaries and none of it's binary. Jung said that the healing factor in therapy is the transcendent function. And that's the difference between you're sitting there going, I have choice A and choice B. And both of them are terrible. I'm stuck. And then suddenly, if this is on a continuum on a line, A and B at the opposite sides of that spectrum, choice G comes up and it's not even on the same plane. And then when you realize that there's a third option, it breaks open like something random has gone into your consciousness. And then A and B don't even matter anymore because now you're focused on G and you're on to the races with something else. It didn't really resolve what you thought you were stuck with. It showed you that you weren't looking at it correctly. My biggest choices in life are when I was stuck between a rock and a hard place, and then I found a third option and said, okay, none of that matters. Like, it's not going to work.
Depth therapy isn't linear and it isn't predictable. It's a willing to listen to your dreams, to symbols, and the moments of synchronicity that don't make logical sense, but strike a chord at your core and feel deeply true. When you follow that thread, life starts to reorganize itself in ways you could have never planned through your ego, but it feels more aligned with who you actually are. That alignment is called the individuation process and is the heart of this kind of work.